Chapter 9. While they were having lunch, it suddenly became very foggy round the cottage,
"We're lucky we're not going out this afternoon,"
said Mrs. McGregor.
"Look at that fog. It's so thick you can't see anything."
Mr. and Mrs. McGregor decided to read, and Sheena went into her room to have a nap. Rory and Lisa went into the dark room to develop some photographs. They spent a long time in there,
"I'm really thirsty after all that hard work,"
said Rory.
"Let's hang up the photographs and have something to drink while they dry."
Good idea,
said Lisa. They hung up all the photographs and went into the kitchen,
Look,
said Lisa, and pointed out of the window towards the other side of the loch.
it's clearing over there too.
Mr. and Mrs. McGregor were in the kitchen. They were drinking tea,
"Have you got any photos of Nessie?"
asked Mr. McGregor with a smile,
I don't know yet.
said Lisa.
They are drying at the moment.
"Sit down and have some tea and biscuits while you're waiting,"
said Mrs. McGregor. Lisa and Rory went back into the dark room. They started looking at the photographs,
"I think you're out of luck again.
said Rory.
There are some beautiful photos here, but I can't see one of Nessie."
Rory, Rory, look at this.
Said Lisa excitedly.
"What?
Asked Rory.
It isn't Nessie, is it?"
No, don't be silly.
Answered Lisa.
Look, blue parka jackets.
You mean the missing boy and girl?
Asked Rory.
Maybe.
Answered Lisa.
It is one of the photos I took from the car.
Rory looked at the photograph Lisa was holding and said,
You're right. You took that one after we left the waterfall.
Yes, that's right.
said Lisa.
It was about halfway between Foyers and Fort Augustus. What will we do?
Let's ask my father,
said Rory, and took the photograph from Lisa. He ran to his mother and father. He pointed out the two figures in blue near the forest.
What are we going to do, Dad?
Asked Rory.
"I think we should drive to the other side immediately.
Said Mr. McGregor.
We may find the man there."
Yes, let's go.
Said Lisa excitedly. Mr. McGregor, Rory and Lisa quickly got into the car and drove to Fort Augustus. There they saw a number of people with dogs. They were talking to the man. Mr. McGregor drove up beside them.
"Hello there.
He said.
I have something important to show you."
He added, and gave the man the photograph. The man took the photograph and looked at it carefully.
Thank you,
He said.
You have helped us a lot.
Then he and the rescue team started looking for the missing teenagers. Chapter 10. The next morning, they were all in the kitchen. They were eating their breakfast,
"Today is our last day here.
said Mrs. McGregor.
Tomorrow we're going home."
Yes, and I'm going home the day after that.
Said Lisa.
"It's our last day.
Said Sheena.
We should do something special."
Oh, Lisa probably wants to go Nessie hunting.
Said Rory.
I don't think so.
Answered Lisa.
I should forget Nessie. I haven't been very lucky.
Just then, somebody knocked at the door.
"Who can that be?"
Asked Mrs. McGregor, and got up from the table to answer the door.
"Maybe it's Nessie."
Said Mr. McGregor, and looked at Lisa with a smile. A few minutes later, Mrs. McGregor returned to the kitchen. The man from Urquhart Castle was with her.
Good morning to you all.
He said.
My name is William McNichol. I didn't introduce myself when we met yesterday.
"You were very worried then.
Said Mr. McGregor.
You look happier today."
That's right.
Said Mr. McNichol.
Thanks to the children's help.
It turned out that Lisa's photograph was a great help. The rescue team knew exactly where to look for the teenagers and found them. Mr. McNichol invited the children to spend the day with his family in Inverness,
That's very nice of you.
said Mrs. McGregor.
Lisa's a little disappointed, so it will probably cheer her up.
Rory, Sheena and Lisa were excited. They would visit Inverness. They went with Mr. McNichol in his car. When they arrived at Mr. McNichol's house, Mr. McNichol introduced them to his son Colin and his girlfriend Margarita. They were very happy to meet Lisa. "The night we spent in the forest was awful," said Colin. "I'm really glad we didn't have to spend another night in the fog," he continued.
So am I.
Said Margarita.
It was very cold.
"That's right," said Colin. "We want to say thank you, so we're going to give you a sightseeing tour of the town,"
And in the evening,
said Margarita.
we have a surprise for you.
When Colin, Margarita and the children returned from their tour, Mrs. McNichol served them a wonderful meal. Then Colin and Margarita took the 3 children for their surprise,
How did you know?
said Lisa when she saw where they were going,
I love ice skating.
added Lisa. Colin and Margarita rented skates for everybody,
It's nice to do something different.
said Lisa.
All I've thought about is Nessie these last 2 weeks.
Who knows?
Laughed Rory.
Her head might appear through the ice.
Lisa had her camera with her and took lots of photographs. When they were all very tired, they went back to the McNichol house. Mr. and Mrs. McGregor were waiting to take the children back to spend their last night by the Loch. Chapter 11. Early in the morning the next day, everybody was feeling a little sad because they were leaving the Loch,
This is a really beautiful place.
said Lisa to Rory as they were both putting the luggage into the back of the car.
Did you know that the Loch is the deepest in the British Isles?
Said Rory,
It's probably the coldest as well.
said Lisa. A car pulled up next to them. It was Colin and Margarita. "We wanted to say goodbye," said Colin, "so I borrowed my dad's car,"
Oh, good.
said Lisa.
You're wearing your blue parka jackets. It's cold early in the morning.
Laughed Margarita.
We need them. No,
Said Lisa.
I mean I want to take a photograph of you in front of the lake. I want to show it to my friends when I get home.
But of course, Lisa took more than just one photo.
You can't stop taking photos, can you?
Asked Rory and laughed.
I think that's enough.
Said Mr. McGregor.
If we go on like this, we'll never get to Glasgow today.
Before Colin and Margarita said goodbye, they hugged and promised to email. Then the McGregors and Lisa began their long drive back to Glasgow. After a good night's sleep in Glasgow, Lisa was back at the Buchanan Street bus station. She was saying goodbye to the McGregor family.
I'm going to miss you all.
She said,
We'll really miss you too.
said Mrs. McGregor.
And it's been a pleasure having you.
I think you'll miss Nessie more than me.
Said Rory with a laugh.
The tartan really suits you.
Said Mrs. McGregor and pointed at Lisa's kilt and hat.
Your parents won't recognise you when they see you.
I look like a real Scottish lass.
Said Lisa. A few days later, Lisa was in her dark room at home. She was developing her last photographs. Suddenly she stopped.
I can't believe this.
She said. She was looking at a photograph of Colin and Margarita in front of the Loch. Who do you think she could see behind them in the lake? Nessie,
I was very lucky after all.
Lisa thought to herself.